Welcome to Philly Tech Connect podcast, where Philly's tech minds meet. CEOs, developers, dreamers. This is your space.
Hey everyone, Dave here with another episode of the Philly Tech Connect podcast. Today I'm speaking with Alison Hummel, who has over 16 years experience in the Medicare, group, and government market space. She has a track record as an award-winning direct sales person and sales manager, but her toughest boss is her 11-year-old son. If you want to connect with her outside of business hours, you can find her on the tennis court or the gym 6 days a week. Alison, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. I forgot that I wrote that. I'm like, that sounds just like, and
Yeah,
then I'm
no,
like,
it's
yeah,
very good.
he's 12 now, so I need to update that.
Fair enough. Okay, but is he still your toughest boss?
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Um, Super excited to talk with you, learn more about the insurance space and your company, Activated Health. One of the first things I noticed, maybe silly on my end, but that Activated is spelt with a K. I'm curious, was that like a deliberate choice or was the other domain taken? Like, what's the reasoning there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of nailed it. There's a couple of reasons though why actually I went with Activated Health. One, in 2025, it's really hard to find or in 2024 when I launched the business, it's hard to find a name that's not already trademarked or attached to something, as you may know. For anybody that's watching this, I highly recommend, if you're launching a new business or launching a new brand, just to make sure that the IP is not taken or that the socials aren't taken, because we would find a name that I really liked and then it would be like, we have everything and it's not trademarked, and then like somebody owned the social media, you know. So Activated Health, the reason for that is I didn't want to use a couple of reasons. I didn't want to use the word insurance in the name. We had done that before. I owned an insurance agency years ago. I lost it in my divorce. It just takes more time through regulatory to get them to approve the name. So that's one concept that I was like, let me just not use insurance in the actual name of my company in the LLC, but I can say it's an insurance agency, which it is. And I wanted to make sure that people knew that we were very health and wellness focused, which I am. So obviously I work out a ton. There are some things in the works around health and wellness that I'm super excited about with my agency that I will be extending to my clients. So that's something that I knew I wanted to make sure that we could work into from like a branding perspective, as well as maybe other potential business opportunities. And then the K was obviously a function of the C being taken. And then also, and it's not in the same field. And so obviously it's been approved by the, Department of Banking and Insurance. But my maiden name is actually Kubiak, which has a K. And like my current name is actually Hummel, which is my ex-husband's name. So it's kind of all fits.
It all works together. Yeah, I'm seeing the connections, and you've satisfied my curiosity. So you have an extensive background in insurance, over a decade. Sales. You mentioned running a prior agency as well. Can you tell us a little bit about running a business in this space and kind of what motivated you to start Activated Health?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody always says nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be an insurance agent when I grow up. I never ever had that thought. However, when I was little, I would be at my nana's house and I used to make her get like her old like rotary telephone out, like down out of the den. They had a den, and put it at the kitchen table. And then I would have like a notepad and my phone, and I would pretend that I like owned a company, like when I was a kid, like when I was little. I mean, I did do like the whole Barbie thing, but that was like a big part of my dream, I think, when I was a little girl, was to own a company and be successful. So there is that, but I didn't think it would be an insurance. I think that just through networking, like I met a couple of people that worked in the insurance space, and a woman that worked at Aetna, actually. I had asked her to mentor me. This is a long time ago. And she agreed. She was like a VP of sales in national accounts at the time. She I think talked to me a couple times a month, was super helpful. And I just applied for a job. And that's literally how I got into the business. I think what keeps me in the business and what keeps me wanting to continue to grow my personal business now outside of working for a big company is the people that I serve and just, how passionate I am that everybody should be able to access healthcare in a way that meets their needs. And I stand by that. I think it's possible. I think there's a lot of rules and regulations that maybe people aren't aware of. And so I usually am one of the first phone calls I think that a lot of people make when they have an issue with, getting a claim paid, or if they are moving or something like that. Like I tend to be a first phone call for a lot of people, friends and clients and referrals. So that's why I'm still in the business.
It's cool. I mean, it's important, right? Like you got to have insurance. Otherwise, you might find yourself in a very difficult position at some point later in your life. So, I think it's a good service. It's a crowded space. I do digital marketing, kind of similar vibes. Like there's a lot of kind of us out there. Are you taking any sort of approach with activated health to give it a little bit of an angle or something that might help us stand out? You mentioned, there's kind of like this broader wellness aspect to it. So tell me what you can.
I think, yeah, it is definitely a crowded space. Sometimes the crowded space, I mean, in my business in particular, in the government market space, there is a ton of rules and regs. I mean, you have to basically, follow a lot of like rules, and there's a lot of red tape. So we really embrace that. And what I mean by that is we really use a lot of like state-of-the-art technology that helps to streamline certain processes that could otherwise like be a barrier for certain other agents that may be like our competition. So we use a platform called RetireFlow as an example. It's a fantastic way to capture information about prospects, what prescriptions they're using, what hospitals and doctors they're using, and just collect a lot of information. It's totally HIPAA compliant, and we can get that information, and then we have that on record digitally for as long as we need. Now, in years past, as an example, what people would do is we would literally use paper, have to get them to sign that, and then get that back to us. Or there would be other types of technologies that would come out that wouldn't be, in my opinion, wouldn't be as high functioning. So that's one example. Whenever I talk to brokers about just the ease of use for tech, I think we're normally like really like ahead. Like we tend, like that's one of the aspects that I know from the brokers that are in my agency. We don't have a ton of brokers. We're building the business really strategically. So I'm building a block of business myself, and then I'll go out and recruit more brokers. But I would say that's one way. Another way is strategic partnerships. So I'm like such a proponent on strategic partnerships. I think that they can just absolutely exponentially grow anybody's business, and you never know who a strategic partner may be. If you open your mind and kind of think differently, you can start to see different businesses or different, people that you may know in your network as a strategic partner, as opposed to a competitor, or as opposed to somebody that like isn't a client, so then they're not important. I really approach everything as like, everybody is as important to me as the next person, be that a client, a family member, a friend, somebody that's interviewing me on a podcast, or, a business partner that I'm, aligning with to grow the business. So those are a couple of ways that we're setting ourselves apart. I know I didn't mention much about the health and wellness. That's stuff that we have coming down the line. A lot of the content that I do is very health and wellness focused. So there's that as well.
I love it. I love the mantra, everybody is as important as everybody else. You mentioned the red tape, as someone who has also, tried to navigate insurance. It's can be confusing. And I imagine that, with all the different types of insurances you deal with, I saw like life insurance on the website, things like that. There's probably some misunderstandings or misconceptions that people have. Any common ones you come across when you talk with, a business owner or an individual about insurance?
I think the biggest misconception that that is out there with insurance is like, you can wait to like make a decision about it. I always say that when you have your health, you can wish for a million different things and have a million different goals. But when you don't have your health, you're literally wishing for one thing, and that's to be healthy again. And it's really challenging when somebody has a health crisis to help them with their insurance in that time. Sometimes is the person mentally capable? Right? Like, where are we at? Like, what's going on? I've dealt with this time and time again. And I try to educate my clients and let them know, hey, let your neighbor know, let your aunt know, let your cousin know, let whoever know, that now is a great time to look at your insurance options when you're healthy, when you have a good head on your shoulders. The worst time that you want to do that is when you're in a hospital bed or when you're being discharged from a hospital or you need a surgery. And reality is, as healthy as I am, I always am prepared for some kind of adverse event that could happen because I'm a single mom. And I have to make sure that I'm not going to put a huge burden on my parents, right? Or my sisters or something like that. So am I prepared in the event of an emergency? I think so. I think I am. And I really feel like that's probably the biggest misconception.
Yeah, I get that. Getting up there myself in years. I mean, I like to think I still have a lot left, but there is a point where I go, oh, I should really be thinking about like estate planning. I should be thinking about like what could happen if this and that. You know, it's one of those like topics that you'd rather put off to another day, but like, you know, but you can't. Anything new and upcoming for Activated Health? Just, you know, next steps, that sort of thing.
The big thing that we're doing right now is we're just continuing to do every single thing that you need to do to be successful to grow an insurance agency. It's not pretty, it's not cool, but what we're doing is we're running seminars in our communities. We're doing volunteer work at different organizations that are important to us. That's that's the main thing. And I'm also building out some strategic partnerships with other healthcare systems. So one of the things that we do here with Activated Health is I'm primarily focused on growing the business in South Jersey and the Philly 5 counties. Okay. The reason I'm doing that is because I think that there's more than enough business to build a book of business in this way. Networks are extremely important to anybody making a decision about their health insurance. And I know the networks really well here. So I feel confident about that. One of the strategic partnerships that we have has given me the ability to go in and run seminars in Jefferson. I ran seminars in Mainline Health a couple of years ago. So really being in the patient population in large healthcare systems and running seminars and being the person that, you know, a retiree calls when they're leaving Jefferson has been pivotal in growing the business. And then also having a sense of trust, which is so important to me. So those are the types of things that we're doing. We're just going to kind of continue to bear down on the things that are working well and then cut off the things that aren't working well.
Sounds like a sound strategy. Alison, for people that want to learn more about you and Activated Health, where should they go?
You can check me out at my website, activatedhealth.com with a K. And then I'm also on Instagram as Activated Health as well. And I have a YouTube channel, which you can click. I think it's my name, Alison Hummel. And I have one video up. And the reason I have that is because I'm all over like on different sites for Medicare information, but I would start there, start at my website, start at Instagram, check out YouTube. And that would be great. And you guys can always call, text, email, DM, all the information to contact me is on my website.
Thanks so much for being on the show, Alison. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all for today's episode of Philly Tech Connect. Join our community at phillytechentrepreneurs.com. Special thanks to our sponsor, Shortlist.io, a digital marketing agency specializing in top-notch link building, content strategy, and web design. Stay innovative, Philly, and see you next time on Philly Tech Connect.